So yesterday, during the 2025 NHL trade deadline, one of the biggest teams that was getting involved everywhere was the Boston Bruins. They traded away Trent Frederick, they traded away Charlie Coyle, they traded away Brandon Carlo, and they traded away Brad Marchand. We talked about most of these trades in videos over the past few days, but the biggest trade that went down that actually isn't even that big when you think about the assets and the amount of assets involved, but it's really big because of the magnitude of the trade. It is by far that Brad Marchand deal over to the Florida Panthers. Now, full disclosure, back when we made the video, we didn't know the full return that the Panthers would have to be giving up. We just kind of talked about the main idea, and I even said in the video, like, okay, I don't really think Brad Marchand is going to fetch a ton on the trade market in this deal. Like, of course, it is very well possible that the Panthers pay a big price, but considering the circumstances and considering Marchand's age and his contract, it doesn't really seem like that would be too likely. And hey, go figure, we did get ourselves the details on the trade afterwards. Guess what? The Florida Panthers did not give up too much in this deal. It goes as follows. So, Brad Marchand heads over to the Florida Panthers in exchange for a 2027 conditional second-round pick. Now, the conditions go as follows. This pick will become a 2027 or a 2028 first-round pick if the Florida Panthers win 2 rounds of 2025 Stanley Cup playoff action and Marchand appears in at least 50% of the team's playoff games. So if the Cats make the 3rd round and Marchand plays in at least half of the games in the playoffs in total, then that 2027 second becomes a 2027 or a 2028 first. Pretty tight trade, honestly, and considering the Florida Panthers and how good they have been, how strong they came off in this trade deadline period from acquiring Vitek Vanacek for Spencer Knight, not really the biggest downgrade there, from acquiring Seth Jones and then acquiring Brad Marchand. This is a team that's trying to pull off that Tampa Bay double-time special. They want to win another Stanley Cup, and with Brad Marchand and his playoff experience on the team, that's not an impossibility at this point. But the reason we are making this video, aside from the fact that I gotta get my sponsors out there, the show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out that first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and support this YouTube channel in the process. Aside from that, I wanted to go out there and talk about the Boston angle in this Brad Marchand situation, because we had ourselves some extra information that really goes out there and illuminates just how badly the Boston Bruins lowballed their former captain. Boston, I think y'all should be ashamed about this. I'm sorry. I know there are a lot of Bees fans that go out there and check out these YouTube videos once in a while. Y'all particularly don't like me because I was cheering against your team in 2011, and of course, my Vancouver Canucks fandom brain will never live that down. But this is really bad, I think. So Brad Marchand, if we head over to his profile, we need to acknowledge this before we dive into the angle that we are discussing. Brad Marchand is 36 years old, signed on till the end of 2024-2025 this season, making $6.125 million a year. Marchand, in this season's worth of play, had 47 points in 61 games with the Bruins. If you just go by the points he has scored since 2016-17, you'll find a really solid amount. 85 points in 2017, 85 points in 2018, 100 points in 2019, 87 points, 69 points, 80, 67, 67, and 47. Spare this season when things kind of took a bit of a downturn for everybody in Boston. Brad Marchand has been a consistent point-producing machine, and in the playoffs, he does the same thing. Point per game or better in most of these seasons. He has been a contributor, a lifelong Bruin drafted by Boston in 2006, a guy who was one of the best franchise Bruins of all time. And if you look at the contract, he's making $6.125 until this season. Okay, he was making $6.125 since 2017-18. And how much was he making before that? He was making $4.5 since 2013-14. I don't know about you, but paying $6 million for a guy who gets consistent 80-point seasons, eventually reaching 100 once, and then rounding off as a near 70-point guy otherwise, spare this year? That's a guy that kind of deserves to get paid. That's a guy who, I get it, you don't want to say, oh, we're going to give you $10 million because of the body of work you did in the past. I'm not going to say that it's necessary to compensate him for what he had done in the past. But there's a bit of respect that needs to go into that, right? Lifelong Bruin, captain of the team, consistent point producer, underpaid his entire time in Boston, and then we see this. He gets traded for a second that can become a first, and John Busigros gets asked this by Dave Lewis on Twitter. Is there any chance that Marchand is back in Boston next year? Marchand? I don't see why not. The Bruins offered him 2 years at around $3 million, I'm told. He wanted 3 years, or a little more money for 2 years. I think he deserves it. He's been a good, underpaid soldier, always in shape. So if the Bruins end up with a first-round pick and Marchand back, good deal. And this is crazy to me. You can see this tweet has 300,000 views, 1,000 likes, and a bunch of replies. But does anybody else think of this as an extreme lowball? Are you kidding me? The Boston Bruins offered this guy $3 million a year? He's already been underpaid his entire time, and now you are going to give him even more of an underpayment? I get that Brad Marchand isn't producing as much this year. 47 points in 61 games played. I mean, he's not that great compared to before, but he's still fine. But $3 million a year? I get that he's lost a little bit of a step, too. They were talking about this on the radio the other day after the Four Nations, but he didn't have as much of a quick one-up on other players, and sure, he's getting a little bit slower, but look at the amount of gosh darn production he has. Look at what he means to this team. You're going to go out there and offer a guy who has been underpaid his entire time in Boston even more of an underpayment for 2 years nonetheless? 2 years, $3 million a year. Are you serious, bro? Heck, I even get that there's been surgeries. I get that he has been in a pretty tough spot, health-wise, the past little while. But you can't tell me that that guy, in a market where the cap is going to go up to $100 million a year, that guy's worth only $3? And I can't even give him the extra year out of respect for the player? Like, really? I don't know. Maybe I'm just going over here wanting to hate on Boston because hating on Boston is a good thing for Canadian hockey fans to do. But Brad Marchand deserves better. And I can't believe I'm saying that. As a hockey fan from Vancouver who was cheering so heavily against Brad Marchand in 2011 and 2013 and 2015 and 2019. Oh my gosh. We are literally going into Wonderland here, boys. Up, down, in and around, reverse, inside out. I am standing up for Brad Marchand in a video. Fantastic. Now he is in Florida, and he'll be probably playing alongside of Matthew Tkachuk at some point in the 2025 Stanley Cup Playoffs. That's going to be great. And the Eastern Conference is going to be terrorized because Brad is going to be on the Panthers now. I mean, if he wins another cup, it's possible. He wins his second cup. That would be the ultimate FU to the Boston Bruins. I mean, if he decides to sign back in Boston in the offseason, then okay, like, he'll be back and he'll get a cup and he'll give the Bruins a first-round pick because he'll play the games and everything. It's going to be fine, but, like, still, that is so disrespectful, I think. I'm not really too sure how you got me to go out there and start defending Brad Marchand in a YouTube video, but here we are. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Brad Marchand and this video commentary topic over here, how the Bruins totally lowballed him, and it's kind of gross. I'm not gonna lie. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about this? I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.